Hello, it is me, here to talk to you about optional rules to use in Tomb of Annihilation. The module presents one to you, which I'm going to talk about the logistics of, and then I'm going to propose a bunch of others that you might want to add to your Tomb of Annihilation adventure. So, to talk about what the hecky Tomb of Annihilation suggests, maybe, it gives you an optional mode called Meat Grinder, which is hell and heaven for a DM on Earth, where player characters must roll a 15 or higher on a death save to succeed. So if they're unconscious, they're likely to die if not attended to, which is honestly more realistic than being stable. Much more likely. In D&D, you have more of a chance of being alive than dead, even once you're knocked out. Which, for gameplay, makes sense, but in real life, if you get knocked out by a sword slashing into your face, you're unlikely to get back up about half a minute later. So, Tomb of Annihilation presents a solution to that. Plus, I think that the module's a good excuse to perhaps start testing the waters of these, like, more brutal death mechanics, due to the death curse being a very prevalent force in this adventure. So, if you wanted to do that, go right ahead. I personally have not done so. One of the players was quite new to the game, and others weren't used to this sort of cutthroat Tomb of Annihilation style adventure. So you can make it more difficult by running it as Meat Grinder if you want. It makes everything more risky and amps up the tension. It seems very cool to me, and if I were to run Tomb of Annihilation again, which I probably won't do for a year or two at least, I would likely run it with Meat Grinder, just to add that extra punch of, this is a dangerous adventure, you should be scared, you know what I mean? So yeah, if you want to run Meat Grinder, go right ahead. I think that your players will be scared of it, but they don't go unconscious as much as they think, and when they do, normally people are getting them back up, and if they're not, then there's a problem. And normally death saves are, if you're rolling, like, if you're at the point where you've rolled 3 death saves, like, you're dead, dude. And I think that makes entirely a lot of sense. How about we take the soulmonger, which is causing the death curse, and frickin' amp that up? If a party member goes unconscious, they have 2 death saves total. Maybe. What happens is, if they die, or at least go unconscious, and they start making death saves, there is no threshold in which, if you succeed, you get closer to being stable. Stable does not exist anymore unless used through Spare the Dying. However, if you fail a death save twice or 3 times, you are dead. So it still keeps that level of a threat, and even if you're on a roll, you're still going to keep making those saves to see if you die. Which means if someone has been stabbed in the gut with a sword and left, and then the party has to run away, they're gonna die, and there's no real way to stop that unless you're immensely lucky and manage to, like, roll like 15 every 2 billion rolls. Like, you do 2 billion rolls and they're all like 15 or higher, which is a statistical miracle. So I think that sort of rule means that it incentivizes the party more to keep their allies up and stuff like that. And another thing that I think could complement this quite well is privated death saves. Fantasy Grounds or Foundry, or one of the two, when I was playing on that, one of the virtual tabletop platforms, there was an option to roll just to the DM, not even yourself, which I think is great. So you could choose to perhaps let the DM entirely handle death saves and trust that. If you trust your DM enough to do that for you, do it, man. And I think that if you're a DM and your players trust you enough, then frickin' yes, do this. It amps up the tension, and it also, I think the main problem with going unconscious is that you have several rounds of fail-safes that allow the party to just think, yeah, they're unconscious, but they've succeeded 2 death saves, I can give them a turn. And I'm not going to heal this guy, and I'm instead going to go do something else. So that means for the combat, the player's been sat there for 3 rounds now, just, okay, we're on another death save. Wow, I'm stable, guys. Thank you. And then they're like, well, we don't need to waste our spells on you for the rest of the fight. And then there's 3 more rounds of, you know what I mean? So having those whispered death saves, I think, is a very neat way to incentivize players to actually get up their comrades as soon as possible and get them back in the fight, because then it's a lot more insurance. Something else that you could perhaps play with in Tomb of Annihilation is there's obviously like extreme heat you could do, and it does give you some basic mechanics around water, gathering water and buying tools to get water, and it being very difficult to find natural water sources and stuff like that. However, so the Outlander background skips a lot of that. My party had been at the start actually doing all of the survival mechanics, but this new party member that came in had a background that basically nullified all of these survival aspects to do with food and water. I would think that if you wanted to amp up that level of survival, make it so that that background only serves themselves or maybe one other person, so that it still incentivizes those checks to gather food and makes each day a little more difficult. Now, you might not like want to do this if you want to just keep the pacing simple and stuff like that, but if you want that level of just, you know, having basic survival needs be just as important as the 5 wolves that have just attacked the party, then fricking go for it, man. World's your oyster. But at the same time, it might also slow the game down a little more with checks and stuff like that. So you could perhaps say, after each week of travel, everyone makes a survival check for the course of the week that they can choose to just either maybe all of them roll separately, or they give it to one person who's like maybe proficient or something, and they can also give help actions too. So like either one person rolls with advantage or everyone rolls normally for the survival in order to find fresh water sources and fresh food and stuff like that, and hunt. And I think that definitely you should consider the fact that the party are going to, if they're low on food and they've just fought like an ankylosaurus or something, they're going to try and skin that ankylosaurus and keep it for food, which is perfectly reasonable. So perhaps plan around that. Consider if you go through some of the random encounters and look at what maybe looks edible. So most of the dinosaurs, perhaps some of the humans, if they're into cannibalism. It's entirely possible if they wanted to do that for the sake of survival. But definitely keep in mind that, you know, your party might want to chow down on some things that they've killed. So perhaps an optional rule for that could be you set numbers of days of rations to creatures. An ankylosaurus is a large dinosaur. Let's say that that's got 10 days worth of food in that bad boy. That could definitely help out the party. If you wanted to create a more rigid structure around this once a week survival check, for one, keep track of the weeks and make sure that you know what day they'll need to make the survival check on. But also consider, okay, they rolled a 15. They're going to get enough for the road this week. They're going to get exactly what they need. If they roll a 20, they're going to get exactly what they need, and also 25% more. If they roll a 10, they're not going to get enough. And kind of consider the specific numbers of that so that the party can keep track of it. In terms of water, when you go to Port Nyanzara, you can buy some like rain catchers and stuff like that. And I think, again, determining weather might be important in terms of the rain. You could make a random chart, perhaps, of weather conditions. So obviously there's always going to be the extreme heat, but then you could also have like you roll a d6 every day, and on a 6 it's raining. Easy. I think that's most of the optional rules that I want to talk about for today. I might have more that I might come up with along the way, but this was just me spitballing ideas towards you. Apologies for the sniffly video today. I have hay fever and it's bad, and over in England its pollen count's been quite high the past week, and I've had days recently where my eyes are just like... in any case, thank you for watching. Make sure you like and subscribe if you liked it. Hit the bell as well. You can join our Discord for any updates on videos, schedules, stuff like that, and also to talk to people, members of our community and stuff like that. We're going strong right there. We have a store you can check out in the description as well, and you can also comment to talk about, you know, more optional rules that you perhaps had. I'll ping the best ones. How about that? I'll give hearts to you all as well. So yeah, if you want to get your advice out there, let me know in the comments and I'll bump it up. Thank you for watching. See ya. Oh, God, I'm snotting. Let me think about this. Let's have a look here. Does it talk about meat grinder anywhere here? I'm gonna look for the rules on it.